I'm on a journey to get better, and I want to do it with you. And I'm not just focusing on physical health, I'm focusing on everything: emotional wellness, spirituality, finances, relationships, and so much more. Every week, it will be my personal goal to bring us, the world's leading healers, experts, and game changers, to share groundbreaking secrets and tips to getting better in all areas of life. Getting better isn't easy, but it's a whole lot easier when we can do it together. Welcome to Better Together with me, Maria Menounos. Welcome back. Happy Monday, everybody. My husband is in studio and he was dancing. Refer to my Instagram stories if you'd like to see his.
It's a Better Together interpretive dance I've been developing over the last few weeks. It's in beta form.
Oh my God. I actually should write hashtag Better Together with a question mark on this. And then you guys can tell me what you think.
We might need a dance instructor on the show.
Wait, can we put in it only works with the theme song though. I want to be set up to succeed.
Yeah, you're not set up to succeed. Sorry, I have to get to the show, boo. But glad to have you in studio. Glad to have you back. You've been gone for 3 weeks. I'm going to start with our quote of the day, and then we'll get into a little bit of that. On a daily basis, how many times do you quiet your voice, negate your needs, deny your desires, play small, succumb to your fears and excuses, look to others for your answers, or just go through the motions of life on autopilot? The truth is, every time you bite your tongue, you swallow your integrity. Living in integrity is a declaration that enough is enough, and you are ready to stop. Stop compromising on what you really want, stop settling for crumbs, and stop giving up your power. It is your declaration that you're ready to financially claim your self-worth. That is from our guest today, Kelley Kosow, who wrote the book, The Integrity Advantage: Step into Your Truth, Love Your Life, and Claim Your Magnificence. She's amazing. Okay. Do I get through episodes without crying? I just want to know.
Nope.
Okay, so I realized in this episode, the reason why I'm able to be vulnerable and cry, because I hate being vulnerable, and my therapist has said this too, is because that's where my dad was vulnerable. He was always really good at showing his emotion. Like, he would cry.
So you don't want to because of that?
No. So I'm saying I am okay with that version of vulnerability. Is if I feel like I'm going to cry, I allow it. I mean, I try not to, but it doesn't really work for me. Clearly, Stephen. But
Kelley would say that was your lighter shadow. One of your, right?
No, light shadow is something that you're in awe of. So.
But you're saying your dad crying,
Well,
like
I don't think I was in awe of that. I think he showed me it's okay.
Yeah, and for a man, and that kind of man, a badass ass kicker like he was.
Yeah,
is still. Well, he's nice at ass kicker now. He was like, he'll fuck you up with his fist ass kicker back then.
Yeah, but only if you were bad.
Only if you were bad.
Yes,
No,
he was a protector of the underdog.
Yeah, he did. He was just-minded.
Anyhow, welcome back to Better Together. We have an amazing interview today with Kelley Kosow from The Integrity Advantage. And Steph, great job booking her, because
I was so glad she could come and that the book was as good, because you see the books and you're like, I wonder what it's going to be like. And then both of us were like, yes, this is awesome.
I spent Saturday by the pool by myself. At some point, I graduated to a Bud Light with chips and salsa.
Amazing.
All by myself, and just had the best day just reading her book. It was amazing. And it was just perfectly timed, because I thought I knew what integrity was. And I thought it was like being honorable to your word and really doing what you believe in, kind of, and, you know, not compromising your integrity. Like when I said no to certain endorsements because I didn't believe in them, I thought, okay, I have high integrity. And you would joke, honey, that I have too much integrity. And so, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Don't stay silent, honey.
No,
Stand in your truth.
A lot of zeros attached with that integrity.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I told you guys about the biggest campaign I said no to, right?
No.
Okay, so I'll just be truthful. Who gives a shit? So I said no to a lot of things, and I'm still saying no to a lot of things, not having like steady work, which Kevin wants to kill me sometimes. Actually, I don't even tell him as much anymore, the things I'm saying no to, because I'm like, protein drink. I'm not going to drink this protein drink.
I'll drink it.
You know, whatever it is. Like, if it's not right for me, I'm not going to do it. Anyway, with this vitamin, I'm not doing that. Unless it's something that's really good for you that I really would take, like the gem vitamins.
Yeah, I just got my subscription.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I take those. So if there was an endorsement attached to that, I would be totally behind that. But if it's something I would never take or I would never suggest for you to take, I can't get behind that. So anyhow, there was one campaign. It was for Latisse, the eyelash.
Yes.
It was a 7-figure deal.
Wow.
And my agents, I remember, brought it to me and I was like, I can't do this. And they're like, what? And I'm like, well, first of all, what if in 10 years we find out that it blinds people? Like, that was my fear, is that it would blind me. Second of all, I would never use it because I have good lashes. And I don't want to do something that could ruin my good lashes. And there could be a chance it could go the opposite way, in my mind. And so I said no. Kevin wanted to stab me, still clearly wants to stab me. And now I want to stab me too, because Claire Danes took it after me and no one went blind as far as I know. Everything was fine.
Yeah, but you do have beautiful eyelashes.
There's some issues,
I didn't
though.
know that about that. I wouldn't want you ruining your eyelashes. You have
Thanks.
great
I've heard
eyelashes.
some
For
issues.
7 figures,
No, it's not. No, nothing's worth that.
my eyelashes not being awesome would be worth 7 figures.
No.
Yeah, y'all can wax my eyebrows for that.
What's not worth it for me is blinding other people because they're like, oh, Maria says Latisse is amazing.
Well, I was offered recently a couple of $100,000
Oh,
to
yes.
say I had erectile dysfunction.
Shut up.
Yes, we got this campaign. It was so funny. My lawyer sent it to me, and it was like they wanted us to be in a commercial for erectile dysfunction.
No.
And it was like good 6-figure, healthy
it was like
six-figure.
$200-something thousand.
No, it was more than that, boo.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't rub it in.
Did you
Anyway.
think about it at all?
We
No,
laughed.
I laughed.
We laughed.
But here's the thing. You know what?
It could help a lot of people, honey.
I was different at that point. As I say to myself now, like, wait, I've done my best work when I haven't given a F. So, like, my dad would have been like, take the money. Who gives a... Yeah, okay. Let the world
Mario
think.
Lopez did a toe cheese commercial or whatever it was. Toe fungus.
Yeah.
Oh
But I
my
think
God.
when a guy, Maria, it's more emasculating, to put that out there that you're... And then I'm like, why do I care?
Yeah.
Like now, but you know what I mean? 6 months ago, I don't know where my mind was at. But I was like,
in the right place?
What if it was a Viagra commercial, though?
No.
Is that different?
No.
I mean, for me, yeah, Stephen, it's like the same thing. It's just pride. But then when I think of I don't know, when I think of the money, like, yeah, I should have just done it. Who cares?
Oh my God.
You would have been like
Gross.
walking by the
Oh,
pond.
and then I would have made fun of myself for it. And then,
I couldn't do it. I could never look
Plus-
at you in that commercial and then have sex with you ever again.
and looking back, yeah, probably should.
Not to get gross,
I
kids.
mean, no, if you would be
Well,
like
good
that,
news he didn't.
I didn't do it. So
Yep. Anyhow, so that's what I thought integrity was, but you'll get a better definition of it in the interview with Kelley, and I just thought it was so fascinating and so enlightening and life-changing. I saw you taking tons of notes, honey.
yeah, I think the shadow self is something that I've studied a little bit over the last couple of years, but she takes it much deeper. Is that we all have we have our shadow selves, and I was taught that different artists use their shadow selves, like a Tarantino, like his shadow self must be dark and violent, and then he gets it out in a healthy way through his art.
Mm-hmm.
But
Dexter's shadow self was killing bad people.
yeah, those
Great
again,
example.
right? Not so good of an
Thank you.
example. Well, here's the thing. No, I really wouldn't joke about this, honestly, because it so deeply affects all of us.
Oh my God! After the
Yes.
show,
So,
she went into so many more with me.
I think this book.
What was the other one she added at the end? Weak. She
Oh,
goes,
yes.
your other shadow self is being weak.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yeah, no. Listen. If you pick up the book, I think the key is you learn about the shadows that we all have, and then you got to take the time to decipher what everyone's shadow selves are different, and you have multiple ones. And I think that's going to be the key for people who read this book. And then to me, I've always said, half of it is knowing. So when you're aware, like, okay, maybe I have an alcohol addiction. You're aware, you admit it. Well, we're halfway there to fixing it. So it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's like she was intonating that by just being aware of what your shadows are, this is how you're on the right path to fixing it. And also, Maria, like you don't, and Stephen, you throw the baby out with the bathwater in the respect that sometimes our shadow selves have helped us create so many great things.
Yeah.
And you can't now look back and again throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, maybe it's just not serving us now.
Right. And or maybe it was to an unhealthy extreme that got you a brain tumor.
Yeah.
You know, or something like that. And so then it's like it's adjusting it. So
Yep.
I thought that was incredible. You know, the part about shoulding.
Yeah.
Like I should do this and I should do that and I should, like, you know, which I think is really important. And
Boo,
then,
save this for the end of the show. You're not a listener, so you don't realize
No,
that we
but-
have our breakdown
but-
after the interview, right, Steph?
oh, you
Yeah,
guys
they
do
don't know
have
what
to-
Is this me
shadows
shaming
are.
him?
No,
Is this me shaming
this
him
is
right
you
now for
shaming
not
him.
Well, no,
listening?
it started with
kidding.
a compliment because he has
Thank you.
extensive notes, so it's a warning to grab your notepads and your pens.
That's the
Yes.
thing, you know, because I took like notes and
Yeah.
on this, and I think with this your show, Maria, I honestly think you have to start promoting that. It's because you need a notebook or something you get all these little tools, as you call
Yeah.
them.
I feel like this is such a great podcast to listen to when you're on vacation and you're like not working and you can soak it
Yes.
in, or when you're on a hike
Like a meditation.
or at the
kind
gym.
of.
Like there's so many places where you're just not.
Or commuting,
Yeah.
you know, if you're
Yeah.
on a train or in a bus or, you know.
But I want to re-listen. I want to go on vacation and re-listen to these because I learned so much through them too.
Me
It's
too.
so fun. But yeah, Boo, I do want to ask you really quickly
Yeah.
before we go, because you've been gone for 3 weeks.
Yep.
Did you miss me?
I told you I missed you guys more, you and the babies, more than I ever have.
Are you proud of who I've become in these 3 weeks?
Yes. I
First thing I did when he came home, I go, "You got to come see my new office. It's so clean and so organized.
Oh man!
I got to show you my car. I cleaned and organized my car. And by the way, we're only going to be sleeping in bed. We're not going to be watching TV anymore because I have found
Oof,
the peace."
that's where it just got a little bit like I just.
Then he was like, "You're pushing it." I
Wait,
go,
wait. Yeah, well, why do we? She's like, I've only watched 3 episodes of a television show
Since you've been gone. Since you've been gone.
And by the way, like
I've
I'm like,
only
okay,
watched
Maria,
3
I haven't watched
episodes.
any TV since I've been gone because I've been working or so. But at the same time, like, listen, you
And in one night, we watched 2 episodes.
you
last
really
night.
don't want to go.
Oh.
Let's not go after TV because you know that's
Too far.
That's just too far. No.
one step.
We
Come
were-
on, this is
We were going
precious.
downstairs, and I looked at him. I said, "Hey, do you think it's possible that we could really just make our bedroom our place of sleep and that sanctuary of sleep so that we can just shut down and know that that's shutdown time?" And he looked at me and he's like, and like the screws were coming a little loose. He's like, "Okay, you're kind of pushing it," but he was receptive and he was into it. I'm like, we have 1,000 TVs. We can watch TV elsewhere. But I started realizing that every night while he was gone, I was going to bed, and I was going to bed and just wiping out rather than being re-stimulated with televisions and noises and everything like that. And it was just such a great way to go to sleep. Thanks for being on board, Boo. How was Gettysburg?
Oh my god!
Well, I know your fans have been waiting.
Oh,
I went to Gettysburg, Monticello, and Mount Vernon,
Nerd.
Vernon.
I'm kidding.
and I will say it's a good trip to take. And then I would say probably I will never go again.
Did you listen to the Hamilton soundtrack while you were there?
No, would be the millennial version of the trip. No, this was and it was good. I went with a Gen Zer, my niece, and
yes.
and when you really, oof, you know, it's all the good and the bad of humanity in all those 3 places, and it was a lot to take in. It was necessary to take in, but
Interesting.
it's hard. Yeah, I mean Jefferson, just pretty bright guy, but
The worst.
really can't get over those 600 slaves, and
He kept calling me horrified.
it's elitism. And then Washington was at least admirable as a soldier because he was just kind of a badass, like
Yeah,
you know.
totally.
But another one, he had his 300 slaves. Like in his house was more working class. You could tell it was more farmhouse. Even though it's Mount Vernon, it's got the pillars. And Jefferson's Maria is more like some of our wealthy friends' houses. It's timeless. Like
Yeah.
But and then you go to Gettysburg and just everyone killing everybody in warfare.
Well, what a downer.
It was something.
Thanks, Boo, for that. I I do have to leave
Well,
because
you asked.
I
Well,
know.
no, okay, here's
No.
the upper, is we threw a very nice wedding for an after buzzer who's been working with us for the last decade, and her husband
She looked stunning.
had nowhere to get married, and we have a wonderful property, and it needed to come one level up to be a wedding property, and so of course your dad, 74 going on 29, ends up just through him and me through rain, and especially him because he had worked on the house before I got there. We added all these features and amenities to make it look like any destination wedding.
So if you'd like to have your wedding at my house,
Yes.
that will be available to you soon.
Please
Yes.
leave a review.
So
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
there's your positive note, and she was so happy, and her friends were so happy, and we made new friends with all their friends who are now gonna take care of your mom and dad too.
So when you
But-
give, you get.
That's it.
Yep.
So there you go, positive.
There we go.
Way
So
to
Kevin and I
bring it
are
full
off to the
circle.
NBA awards tonight.
Yes.
Technically this afternoon. We get picked up in a little while. So I have to cut this short because shot. I got to cut this shot because we got to go get ready for the NBA awards. We were invited by the Celtics last year. And I like to say that I'm like their team mascot. And we were invited
Encore.
again this year. So
We'll have Kevin back on.
yeah.
Get more updates on Mount Vernon.
no, I don't want more updates.
No, I don't even want to talk about it. It really was not. It was not.
Listen
pleasant.
to the Hamilton soundtrack and it'll make you feel a little bit better about history.
time.
Exactly.
All right. So, up next, our interview with Kelley Kosow. So, she's an author, motivational speaker, the CEO of the highly acclaimed Ford Institute. She's known as a kick ass coach to high level executives, celebrities, and motivated individuals committed to personal transformation. Today, we're talking with her all about her book, The Integrity Advantage Step into Your Truth, Love Your Life, and Claim Your Magnificence, which is teaching us how to own who we are and live in alignment with our truth and our desires. Get ready with your notebooks, everybody, because this is everything. Enjoy.
Actually, I've been listening to your podcasts.
Oh, cool.
So I was listening, driving around. I was listening to your thing on Laura Berman.
yes.
And do you want some feedback?
Please.
You said the word important. Like you had some interview and they said, well, what are you doing now that's important?
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking, if you were my client, I would go in on that word important, important, being visible, being seen, because we would say in the work I teach, that's one of your shadows,
Yeah.
like that need to, and so we kind of projected what stuck out in your mind was that word important.
Yeah, well, because I was asked on a red carpet, Kev, that we were on at the Chrysalis Ball, like, what are you up to now or whatever? And I said, if I don't say something important right now, am I lesser than in your mind? Am I not important enough? Am I not special enough? And so every time, it's funny, when I get asked that question, I completely blank out. I could have 80 projects going on,
Exactly.
and I never know
Because
what to
that's your
say.
shadow.
So
Yeah,
Kelly, can you
explain that.
explain that? Yeah, what,
Yeah, explain it.
Okay, so I'm lucky enough to have been taught. One of my greatest teachers was a woman named Debbie Ford, who was
Ariel was on my show here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Ariel's sister,
Yep.
who was an expert in the human shadow. And the shadow are the parts of ourselves that we don't see in ourselves, that we deem as wrong, that we find unacceptable, that we don't believe that we are. Now, there are negative shadows and there are positive shadows. And if we were to start with the negative, so the negative shadows are the parts of ourselves that we disown, that we don't want to be. You're yelled at when you're a little kid. Your mom says, don't be lazy.
Yeah.
And you're so
Wait, that's what my parents called me. My parents called me lazy.
so
My
lazy.
dad.
And of course,
My
then
dad would be like, Maria, you lazy.
Okay.
And that's why I think I turned into a
of course,
workaholic.
an overachiever.
Yeah.
That's it, because we don't want to feel, so we make that characteristic wrong. So we're all born whole and we have every characteristic that we see in the outer world. But then because of experiences that, we have, or because the messages that we get from our parents or the environment that we grow up in, we start whittling away at parts of ourselves and really kind of diminishing our sense of self. So all of a sudden, instead of being whole, okay, can't be lazy, can't be greedy. My mother used to say, don't be spoiled. Who are you? Who do you think you are? Famous parents' last words. Don't be that, don't be that, And so we start making those characteristics wrong, and we don't want to show them to the outer world. Mm-hmm. So if your dad, and then of course, because we never want to feel that pain and shame, we create personas over it. Mm. And it's not that we aren't those personas, because you are an overachiever, you are, smart, perfect, whatever those are. But it comes at a cost, because when a shadow is running your life, you lose the ability to choose. Yeah. So you couldn't just sit back and do nothing. You had to go find the next project and the next project. And so when I was listening to your interview with Laura Berman and that word important came up, somewhere being unimportant, being unseen, being invisible, probably something, whether it was your own experience or maybe the experience you saw, your parents, maybe they weren't seen as important enough, or that you have, that's a tricky word for you. Yeah. And a lot of people, especially a lot of celebrities, they don't want to be invisible. Mm-hmm. Yet I know for even me in the work I do, being visible had a lot of fear attached to it, because if you're visible, you can be put down. If you're visible, you're vulnerable, you're a target, people won't like you, you're too big for your britches kind of thing. And so you want to, shadow work is really based in the concept of wholeness. Carl Jung said, I'd rather be whole than good. That really we have this toolbox of characteristics. So whether it's lazy, whether it's greedy, whether it's, selfish, and we've disowned them. And when you disown them, you don't have access to them. And at the end of the day, there's a gift in every characteristic. I say in the book, I love that, saying God didn't give us any spare parts, or the universe, whatever you believe in, didn't give you any spare parts. And so if you can befriend these parts of yourself, if you can look at and you can find, so to own back a negative shadow, you have to identify what it is. So if it triggers you, then it's something you don't want to be. So, for me, being spoiled, I always I didn't want to be spoiled, or I can't stand being around entitled people. When I used to go drop off my kids in school and go to pick them up, and all the mothers were cutting in line, I'd go, who the heck do they think they are? And so I found the word entitled. And I realized that I did not want to seem entitled, which is why I always worked really hard, because God forbid anyone would say, who does she think she are? She's spoiled, she's entitled. And so if you can, first you have to identify the characteristic you've disowned. Then you have to be able to accept it, own it. And so saying, I am that. Yeah, I am spoiled. I am spoiled. And then to really own it back, to embrace it, I have to find the gifts. So for you, I'd say, what are the gifts of lazy?
Well, I've learned them as of late. The gifts of lazy, because that's the battle now, is after surgery, I've kind of just been calm and I'm not doing as much. And then, you have my husband over here who's been behind my career forever, who's so nervous that I'm throwing my career away by being, in a sense, lazy. But it's not being lazy. It's just being truthful to what I really want to do and what I don't want to do. It's been fun. It's been amazing. It's been freeing. I've had so much more creativity flowing through me, so much more energy. It's been awesome being lazy, if that's the term.
Yes. And so isn't lazy a great characteristic? And if you embrace lazy back, if you integrate
most people can't ever slow down.
No.
That was like me before. I was always revving
you were running because God forbid you would be lazy, because our programming, we're all being run by this unconscious programming that is set in place under the age of 10. So if you're 4 years old and your parents say, why are you being so lazy, Maria? You decide, okay, I'm not going to be that. Yep. And you don't remember it because it's unconscious. It's in the shadow of your awareness. But it is driving your life, and you don't have choice. Someone comes to you, here's another project. Oh, of course I'll do it. Here's another red car. Oh, of course I'll do it. And you lose your ability to choose because you just have to prove to yourself and the world, I'm not lazy.
Oh my God, we spend our whole lives just trying to prove to
It's
everybody
exhausting, isn't it? Of course.
and to be what everybody else wants us to be.
Exactly. We're shooting on ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so when you open yourself up to wholeness, that's the key, because otherwise, I mean, for me, I was chasing being smart and being popular and being
perfect.
talented and being perfect. And it was on this gerbil wheel.
Yeah, because
And
that's what our parents want us to be at the end of the day is perfect, right?
Well,
they want us to be
that's what
quiet when
we
they want us
take
to be
on.
quiet. They want us to look good to everybody else. They want us in the perfect little dress. We have to behave in church.
But that's the meanings you made as a result of your environment. Your environment could have been something much different. My environment couldn't have been something much different. And so, yes, because our shadows are formed by the experiences that we, encounter. Like if I'm a kid in school and I get up to read and, I'm in, let's say, 8 years old and I stutter. And this actually happened to me. I was terrible. We used to have reading out loud. I don't know
Yeah,
if
of
in your,
course. I
in
remember
your
the poor kids that
generation.
had a hard time. I didn't have a hard time with it, but I remember how hard it was.
And
for some
I would
people.
stutter and stammer. And so, I felt like it's not good. It was unsafe to be seen.
Mm.
And so I dimmed down my light. And then the other thing, of course, we have light shadows. So lots of us get messages or make these positive traits wrong. Who are we to be magnificent? Who are we
Yes.
to be brilliant? How many times were you made fun of because you were the smart girl or you were the pretty girl?
Oh, I made myself stupid. I was in advanced honors classes, and just to fit in, I made sure that I got out of all of them because it was a problem. I remember my mom telling me, I would come home crying, like, why are they being so mean? Whatever. And my mom said, Maria, they're just jealous. Don't give them a reason to be jealous.
Right.
So I used to go to school, like not showered, in sweats, looking as ugly as I could. My freshman year, I tried. I remember like trying to be pretty, and it got me into so much trouble.
Right.
And then after that, I was like, I had to dim my light to survive.
Exactly.
And that was my like baseline.
Yeah, and what you made that sentence mean from your mother, don't give them a reason to be jealous. I'm sure your mother was not saying dim yourself down.
Right.
Yeah.
But you, as a child or as a young adult, you don't have the wherewithal. And so you decided at that point you had to dim yourself down. You had to look sloppy. You had to, get a few bad grades or not take the honors class. And so we dim our light as well. And that's the crazy thing. And then we can't own being visible. We can't own being successful. And we
Or you
can't.
feel guilty when you're successful.
Oh, yes. Yes, because how many messages? People won't like you if you're successful, or you won't fit in, or they'll be jealous.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're told that all the time, they'll be jealous. Are you really going to go out and create a world?
That's going to make them even more jealous?
Exactly. And then you're the
No.
target for this and you're the target for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we're out of
Whoa.
integrity and we're dimming ourselves down. And you see it. And the fact of the matter is, most people have a much harder time owning their light than their dark, because we're constantly, I write about it, it's Pretty Woman. When Richard Gere says to Julia Roberts, you could be so much more. And she turns around and says, yeah, but the bad stuff is easier to accept. So we've been telling us, we all have this monkey mind that's been on a constant basis that's saying, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not successful enough, you're not this enough. We're so used to that choir of condemnation and criticism that's easy to believe. Someone tells me you're not good enough, I'm like, or you're too fat. Like, okay, fine. I've been telling myself that for 58 years now. Yeah. But if someone says to you, you're fabulous, you're magnificent, you're gorgeous, what do? You deflect with humor?
I cry.
Most of us can't take a compliment.
Yeah.
If someone says, I like your outfit, oh, I just got it at, over there, I threw it together. We have to dumb ourselves down instead of just saying thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. The important thing I wonder if it's because when I was really young, my parents were janitors in nightclubs. And I remember vividly, and I remembered it when I was reading this book, which, by the way, the book is unbelievable. I read through it in just a few hours yesterday.
What's the title
by
of the book?
pool, The Integrity Advantage. And I thought I knew what integrity was, but I only knew part one. I didn't know part two. And we'll get to that in the interview. But I remembered while I was reading this how I used to lie when I was little about what my parents did for a living because I was so embarrassed.
Yes.
Because it wasn't important enough.
I knew it because I knew your story.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yes. And so,
I used
and
to be
look
like,
what
my parents own a nightclub. I made it that they own the nightclub because I was so embarrassed.
Exactly. Because as a little kid, what do we want to fit in? We want
Everybody's parents were something cool.
Yeah, and your parents, and so you made it mean unimportant. And isn't that the gift of unimportant? Look what you've created in your life.
Yeah.
Look how you've served others. Look what you're doing.
Totally. No, Kevin's always said that was the greatest gift is that my parents brought us to work and that we learned, the value of hard work and
Working as a family.
working as a family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But that shadow of unimportant as a result of your parents' occupation and your being embarrassed as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
look how that has, and even now giving yourself the time off.
Yep.
Because what if you get out of the game? So
No.
you probably have the same
Yes.
shadows.
Yes.
Totally.
Because our partners are
I-
our mirrors.
100%. And I have it on her behalf.
Yes, because it's yours.
Yes.
It's yours.
It'll
You
be his
spot it,
personal
you got
failure
it.
if I fail.
Of course, because, that's his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm literally taking notes. That's why I'm just being quiet.
Yeah. And I
No.
think that was one of the things when I was reading this that I realized is there's a little guilt and a little unease that I still feel by living my truth because he keeps saying, I know you better than you. When this is all gone, you're going to miss it and you're going to regret it. And I don't want you to have that
If
feeling.
this is all gone.
But
who knows
Who
what
knows
else?
what's gonna
What's
happen,
gonna
right?
take the
We
space
don't
when
know.
it's what comes next? I mean, would
And-
you ever thought you would be here doing
No.
reading self-help books every week?
no, and by the way, it fills me in such a way every week. I literally can't wait for every Monday because I'm learning and I love learning. But the other thing that, to piggyback off of the important thing, I remember when I went in for brain surgery, I gave each of my parents and Kevin a letter, but my dad's was the most important. I can never say without crying, but I said to him, I hope you understand that when I come out the other side, I'm going to live a very different life, and you may not have things to brag about regarding me anymore. I may not do things that you can, be excited about anymore. I'm just going to do what makes me happy and healthy. Isn't that
yes,
crazy?
because you still couldn't embrace unimportant, and you projected that your father wouldn't love you, that no one would love Maria if she was unimportant.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
and your father only wants you to be happy and healthy,
Right.
I'm sure.
yeah. Well, I didn't know that for sure, but now I do.
No, they all start out with good intentions. The
Of
parents,
course. Yes.
Your mom too.
That's why this book is
Yes.
so amazing because it helped me to kind of, first of all, I needed to understand integrity in its entirety, but it made me start to see all of these things at just the right time. It's cool.
Yeah, well, if you're, one of my things is that the universe is always giving us exactly what we need when we're ready to receive it. So
Yep.
honestly, your whole thing, and I was saying to Steph, what a great job. You guys read self-help books every week and then talk about them on
And
a Monday.
digest it and apply it during the
Yes.
rest of the week.
And then have like questions and really go in deeper. And she's like, yeah, this is a great job. But I would look because I'm always so fascinated. Like whatever book you're getting
is for a reason.
exactly
I
the
know.
book. It's that divine design that book
Yep.
after book, person after person. It's just like, okay, universe, what do you got for me this week?
Kelly, I'm telling you, this has been my last 3 years. Every day, whoever's in that chair, or it could be the person that's with them.
Right.
It's like the message has to come through somewhere, and it's been such an incredible journey. I'm so grateful and so blessed for it. I want to explain to people before we move any further the definition of integrity, the full definition.
My definition of
Yes.
integrity. So my
Yes.
definition of integrity is owning all of who you are and living in alignment with your greatest truths and grandest desires. And so the owning all of who you are, just in terms of even my journey. So if you look up the definition of integrity in the dictionary, what we used to have before Wikipedia or whatever, things I used to use. It always said, a strong moral compass, which is what because I came from an Italian Catholic mother. You have your Greek mother parents.
That's what I thought integrity was, is like your moral boundaries, like right from wrong,
exactly,
being honest.
All those, the 10 Commandments, all those things.
Lying when you're little about your parents' job.
Yeah, exactly. So I always thought it was that right and wrong thing. And then one day I was teaching a workshop, doing a shadow workshop, and one of the students actually said to me, because we were talking about integrity and being in your truth and being in integrity as you coach, and one of the students said, I looked up integrity and it meant wholeness. And that blew me away. Like, oh my gosh. But then I realized, so the first part of my definitioning, owning all of who you are, is owning back all of your characteristics. Because I truly believe that the outer world is a reflection of our inner world. And if we're only owning 5% of who we are, 10% of who we are.
Is that what it normally is, you think?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I think it's so low. I think we have this amazing toolkit, and most of us are working on 10% of our, we're 10% of our
Probably why we're
toolkit.
so empty and unfulfilled.
Exactly.
Too.
Exactly.
And tired, because if you have
it's
to,
exhausting.
If you have to keep shushing and disowning those parts,
It's hard to keep them in the closet.
Huh.
And that's why so many people are passive aggressive. Let's be real. Because it's like a beach ball. You push it down, push it down, push it down. And all of a sudden, because you can't push it down anymore, it comes up and it hits you in the face and it splashes on everyone around you. So all those parts of ourselves that we're trying to put, look how many people try to push down their anger, try to put, oh, I'm so nice, I'm so sweet, everything's fine. And then, they explode.
Yeah.
And it's because they're trying to push it down. So wholeness, doing shadow work was a huge part of my journey, to be able to say, yeah, I'm a bitch and I'm the nicest person I know. I am, generous and I am greedy. I am selfish and I am selfless. I am one of the smartest people I know, and I am totally one of the dumbest people I know. I am visible and invisible and all those things, and knowing that if I have befriended all of them, when I need to be lazy, I can pull it out of my toolbox and just watch Hallmark movies all Sunday and be the happiest person, And so I have access to it. It doesn't mean that just because I embrace it, it's going to flood over my life and I'm just going to be sitting on the couch all day doing nothing day after day after day.
Which is a fear.
Well, that's what they think. Oh my God, if I embrace a characteristic, if I embrace selfish, am I going to become like this
monster?
Exactly. And so, no, but when you need to be selfish, when you need to set a boundary, when you need to say no, you will have access to it. If you're trying to push it away, then you can never say no. Yeah. You're that constant people pleaser. Oh, what can I do for you now? Kind of
can
thing.
We talk about all the bad ones? Because it's pretty obvious which ones we all herald as bad.
Right.
And then what the positive is. Because even just hearing the selfish thing, it's like, oh yeah, selfishness can be good.
Well, and I'll tell you what, for a lot of women, being vulnerable, being needy, being dependent, especially in this day and age of this culture, everyone's so independent and I can't be needy and I can't be vulnerable. And they're exhausted.
Well, and also men aren't attracted to that too. Like that's a very masculine kind of quality, right?
Well, I guess so. I mean, I think we all have both, but I think for a lot of women right now, they're afraid to be any of those things, or they don't want to be doormats like their mother, or they don't want to give their power up to anyone or anything like that. So they've made, and I remember me making needy wrong. And then as part of integrating a shadow, you have to, it has to kind of, integrate something, it has to get in your soul. Because you can say, okay, the gift of being needy is, I can ask for my needs. But that's just talk. That's my head saying something. So to truly integrate it, I had to get up every morning. Let's take vulnerable. I literally for a month, because, I'm the tough girl. I was the confident one. I'm the one, balls to the wall kind of thing, being vulnerable, asking for help, any of those, showing my emotions, those were scary to me. So every day I had to get up and say to myself, what's something I can do to be vulnerable today, to really integrate it.
Yeah.
So I could really say, wow, I told someone a truth and I didn't die. The world didn't end. I asked for help and no one, and I'm still standing. And no one thought less of me. People still, respect what I do or something like that. So for me, being able to be needy, I now ask for my needs and wants. I never did it before. You probably never did it before.
I'm really bad at it.
Yes. Being able to be dependent. I got married 2 months ago, and I can be dependent on my partner. I can say, can you do this for me? Which I would have never done it before.
That I'm kind of good at. Right, honey?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Although you shamed me on this trip.
This
when I
trip you've gone
texted
you've gone the other way and you've become independent.
Well, because you made
as
me feel
Rudolph said.
shameful for being needy.
When?
Because I sent him, so every time he goes away, disaster strikes, right? It's so hard to have him not be home. So he was gone for maybe 24 hours, and this massive leak happened in the house and a couple of other horrible disasters. And I'm texting him, and so him and his friends thought it was funny to send me videos making fun of me while they're at their college reunion. So I said, okay, I'm so sorry that I asked you to be my support because I can't ask anybody else for this. And I said, I'm going to go find a new friend to help me. And I texted him a picture of this homeless man that I found on my gifts. And so that was it. I said, from that moment on, I'm going to handle any crisis in this house by myself without help.
And that was the gift I gave you.
Thank
So
you.
we can tell Kelley that 5 years ago, the only other time I decided to leave this house for something social, literally, was for my reunion. And as soon as I literally walked into the first event, after I registered, she's yelling and screaming at me because a flight was canceled. And I said, well, just you and the 3 people working for you. Can you just go and rent a car and get pillows at Target and do a 3-hour drive to the event? And the yelling and screaming continued or whatever. And I said, okay, well, this is my reunion. And I traded calls for the 3 days. And I still made it to your book signing in the middle of my reunion. Then went back and I said, for my own needs, my shadow side,
There you go.
I said, I'm going away this weekend. And I'm going to my reunion to see my friends, my lifelong friends. And unless it's a health crisis for you or the babies or something catastrophic, please do not bother me. And it was not a leak. It was something very minor. Don't make me pull up the text to embarrass you. It was something very minor. And I handled it with humor with some of my funnier friends.
It was
who,
funny.
who made videos to it was over a cable for the computer.
No.
Yes,
That
it
was one question I asked
Let's get back
you.
to come on. Let's
I
get back
asked
to
you one
Kelley.
But
question
here's
about a
the great
cable.
thing, because the people in our lives, so here's the great thing. The people in our lives come in to show us. You are each other's best teachers.
Yeah.
And our shadows fit like puzzle pieces. So it makes sense that 2 people who have, stuff in the space with their area, with the whole thing about being needy, would come together because there's something about asking, but then also something about you meeting your needs, but also wanting to be there for,
I
so
do.
she asks for her needs, yet you have to stand in your neediness and it's what your needs. And so for both of you to be able to fill up your own cups as well, and then be able to be there for the other person, and for you not to feel abandoned, because I see it all
did.
the
I felt
time.
abandoned.
Well, because
Over
here's the
computer
thing:
cable.
the person, like with you see it with couples all the time. With the person with the fear of abandonment will always meet the person with the fear of commitment. Right? Because the person with the fear of abandonment, they come on and they want to clomp on to the person with the fear of commitment. The person who fears commitment, all of a sudden they're getting like smothered. And what do they have to do? They want to run the other way. They want to create their man cave and never come out.
Yes, every
Okay?
house we've ever looked at. Where am I escaping you? That's his line.
Yes. Okay. And
I'm
so
a nice person. Why does he want to escape me,
Exactly.
Kelley?
And then you get to feel, oh my God, I'm going to be abandoned. I don't want that house with the really good man cave. Give me a house that has a living room and that one room house. Just I want a 1-room house so we can be together all the time. And so that's because the person who has the fear of abandonment, you have to stop abandoning yourself,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you've learned and are learning, so that you can fill your own cup. And then as you start not abandoning yourself and being able to fill your own cup, little by little, he'll come out of his man cave.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's safe to come out of the man cave without feeling I'm going to be just totally, swallowed up.
I just had a vision of like the little crab in the sand hole.
Yes.
And then, it like creeps up and that's like, okay, we're safe.
Or the turtle, all of a sudden, the
Yeah.
head's back in the shell.
Oh my
Hopefully,
God.
she
So
won't recognize
How do
me.
you get a fear of abandonment? So if I have a fear of abandonment, but I was never abandoned, maybe I was abandoned emotionally?
You can be abandoned
Maybe that's what it
emotionally. I
was.
mean, I have clients, their parents, the father was working all the time and the mother wasn't there for
Oh,
them
man, your
because she
parents
was unhappy.
Right, your parents were so overwhelmed with work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it could be
then
custodial,
and then
right?
Maria,
Yes.
you were the only one who spoke English, so she was from 4 or 5. She was cast into the role of kind of family leader, and there's abandonment there, for the real needs of a child.
Yes, if you became the leader, you
Oh,
became
yeah.
the grown up, then your emotional needs. I mean, it's so, and I can tell you from having 3 daughters, like I thought as a parent, like, okay, maybe like I knew all the things I did that probably screwed them up.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And then when you do shadow work with them and like, okay, so where did, her thing of not fitting in come in, or I don't belong, whatever that, shadow belief is that has, kind of been ruling our life. And because we also create shadow beliefs. So if something happens when I'm under the age of 10, like the little triangle of kids, there's always, the one kid, if you're in a 3 little girls and one gets left out because those 2 go to so and so's house and you're not invited. And so as a result of an event that happens, you create a meaning. So maybe it's I don't belong, or I'm not good enough, or any of those, or the world is unfair. There are the haves and the have-nots. You can be told things from your parents that then go and seep into your consciousness. And these shadow beliefs, these limiting beliefs that you created because you didn't really have the wherewithal as a child to know what's going on, they get embedded in your unconscious, and then they become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yeah.
So, one of my girls, she had this, shadow belief, I don't belong. And it started from early on. Of course, she's one of 3 sisters. And then she always used to find these triangle of friends and then get so hurt. And it just kept reinforcing and reinforcing, I don't belong.
And I bet the cycle continues in
Of
your
course.
adult life until you figure it out.
Until you go into, you bring the light of awareness to your unconscious.
Yeah.
That's what shadow work is about, bringing light to that which lives in the dark. And that which lives in the dark are all the disowned aspects of yourself. It's all these limiting beliefs. And those are what is running your life. So most of us are being driven by our unconscious drivers. And what I always also say is, we teach the world how to treat us. So it's on our unconscious limiting beliefs that is teaching the world how to treat you.
Yes.
And
That
that
is
is
so
crazy.
True. So when you're a woman, and I'm going to get to that question, guys. Thank you for writing that. Kev, just make sure you help me remember that. Women at work, I feel like I have so many friends, and of course I've experienced so many difficulties at work where you have these like almost like movie-like character, like these Anna Wintour characters, these
Right.
horrible bosses,
Right.
these horrible colleagues. And I wonder how much of that, because what I'm starting to see was like I had this running theme of I wasn't good enough.
Right.
And so I'm bringing that into work.
Absolutely.
Right. And now I know I'm not the only one.
Right.
So how does that, in your opinion, manifest in a workplace so that you are getting this horrible reaction back?
Well, I think you're being run by the I'm not good enough, and you keep projecting it on other people.
And then they believe it.
And
Right?
no, you believe it. You have no idea. It's like I was working with a woman on Friday, and she was thinking about going back to her, she kind of runs in this kind of very, I guess, upper circle in Australia. But she's always had, as a result of certain body issues, kind of this whole thing, I'm not good enough. I don't belong. I'm not good enough. She also moved around a lot as a kid. But she got invited to, I guess, the Queen Bee's wedding and to be in the wedding party. And we had to look at, and she really didn't want to go. And the funny thing is, she was projecting on this other girl that she wasn't as good enough And I'm like, the evidence, she's inviting you. This is the who's who, the Kim Kardashian of Australia, if that's the who's who. And she's inviting you to be one of her 5 bridesmaids.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if this girl is a big influencer on social media, and all, they're all going to look a certain way, and they're going to, it's going to be it's a
thing.
snapshot. It's going to be a Vogue picture, her bridal party. And so she's projecting on her friend her belief that she doesn't belong. Obviously, her friend thinks she belongs.
Yeah.
That's why she's invited her, given her the honor of being in her bridal party. And so you're projecting on everybody your belief, I don't belong, or I'm not good enough. And that is the number one. However that looks, that basically everyone out there. And that's the thing, if you understand humanity, everyone out there is walking around with the I'm not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, I'm not smart enough, good enough, just plain not enough. And isn't it funny that the number one reality show, and I don't mean to pick on the Kardashians, but Keeping Up With, it's the perfect shadow title because we're all coming from a place of lack, and it tapped into lack, all of our feelings of not enough. And that's why we all want to keep up. It's a brilliant, I don't think they had a shadow expert pick their title.
Yeah.
I think they went with K's, but it's brilliant.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot. I feel like, yeah, you're right. Everybody really does kind of come at it from that angle, right? Whether their work or in their relationship. And you end up being that gerbil in the wheel that's
Yes.
still always trying to prove yourself.
I think right now it seems like it's harder for women because Maria, is working on a book now, and it's all the stuff you're saying. It just a lot of guys yes, we do have these issues as well, but I feel like with women,
there's just more to what we have to
well,
do.
I think because, it seems like there's you play by the rules, and if you do in the system that's currently set up, or the rules that you've put into your mind, you end up, probably getting sick, and then you play by the rules of the system, the rules again that you were brought up to believe were the rules, and you can't take it and you quit. When you're trying to fulfill your dream, and then there's that third option of, well, I'm just going to become vicious and cruel. I'll become, and you see the women who take on the characteristics of the men, and they're the worst bosses than the, and what is that? We've been asking ourselves, what's that next option? And I think that's what you're offering.
To become that which you want to, to really become and stand in that. For me, it's about, surrounding yourself with being the person you want to be, leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think we need as women, more people who will stand in their truth. I mean, I think one of my gifts as a workshop leader is that I'm able to just put my humanity out there.
Yeah.
And because once you open the door for people to be honest, I mean, that's what you do every week. You open the door for people to embrace their humanity and just be honest. And that's, going back to my definition of integrity, living in our deepest truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, if you were the one who shattered kind of everyone try, even in a workplace, and you opened up the conversation about how we all are insecure and we all feel not good enough, that would be the great leveling. And so for me, one of my, integrity protection, who do I want to be in this situation? And I think if more and more people can stand in who do I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
and then create that culture, that's going to be the role model.
Yeah.
Because I think we're all dying for it.
There was something, we are dying for it. And I'm pretty sure it was in this book where you had an example. I loved all your examples in here because it helps you understand.
Right.
Some of this is a little heady, it's a
Yes.
little complicated. So you need something to ground you
Exactly.
in. Oh,
You have
okay,
to
I
see
get
yourself in that.
that. And that's why I bring up examples from my life so that whoever's sharing those can see their path really easily. But there was an example in here about a woman at work who kept keeping quiet in these moments where she wanted to tell the truth or she wanted to say the truth, and she kept
Yes.
being quiet. So what is your advice for someone in that situation, because if you stand up, like there are moments where I usually will bite my tongue and then I'll tell my agent later, and then he'll figure out a way to finesse it and say it to people, because people
Okay.
you can't handle the truth.
Right.
If I am in a meeting
Right.
and I tell you what I really feel, which I've now done since surgery. So
Right.
there was
And
a
how's it
show.
worked?
It's been great for me, at least. I was in a meeting once where this network wanted me to host the show, and I had such a visceral reaction to the video they showed me. It was such an exploitive show about people's lives. I won't get any deeper than that. And I thought I was going to vomit, and I literally was like, I can't do this. I can't do this.
Right.
I can't do this. And it just happened. I'm like, I cannot do this. Oh my God, this is horrible. And I just started being super raw about it. And I offered them solutions on how to soften it and do it a little differently. And then, of course, they wanted me more. And I was like, no, this is not right for me. Or recently, this producer brought up this show idea. And I said, okay, so what's your goal with this? Because
Right.
you're creating 2 different shows here, and this doesn't make a lot of sense for me. Maybe I'm missing something. Normally, I wouldn't have those conversations with them, but I am. And it actually has been so rewarding for me because I get to speak my truth.
Exactly.
Biting your tongue sucks.
Well,
It's-
that's what I say. Every time you bite your tongue, you swallow your integrity. And
Yeah.
when we are out of integrity, we are never going to feel happy.
yeah.
It just is, because we know inside.
So is
Inside of
it-
us, we know.
So is it if they can't handle the truth, then it wasn't right for you?
No, if you admit your truth and it doesn't work for them, then it's better for everybody.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
what
you
thought.
just stand in
But
your
it's
truth.
nice
You're
for
not
people to hear.
making them wrong. You're saying it's not right for me, and
Mhm.
that's what integrity is. Really checking in: is this right for me? You know, there are shows I'm like, I can't believe people are watching them, but they are. So it's right for them.
Right.
Fabulous, because there is no right or wrong. It's what's right for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have
That's a
to
great
keep
quote.
checking in on. And this isn't about being perfect. You know, people think integrity, a lofty goal, you know, it's not so sexy. But no, it's not about perfection. It's about what's being perfect for you in that this time in your life.
And you had to do that in a big way with your marriage, and you talk all about that in here as
Right.
well. So for women out there who are scared to speak their truth even in their relationships, so we've done work,
Right.
and whether it's a friendship or a relationship, what is your advice to them?
I think it's really, first you have to do your own work about it. I mean, the thing is, we're all projection machines. We're all projecting and judging and, you know, pointing our finger at everybody else and not looking at the 3 fingers pointed back at us. So I am constantly doing my work. I look at disowned qualities, whether they're light or dark. It's like this great treasure map. Like if I find something in you that triggers me, I'm like, great. This is a part of me that I need to own.
That's the if you got it.
If you spot it, you got it. Yeah, so I'm always-
Is that true across the board?
Yes,
'Cause
because
I find it so hard.
this is how you find your disowned qualities. So with negative ones, they trigger you, like the women I was talking about that I go, oh my God, they're so entitled. And with positive, with your light that you need to own back, they affect you in that you're in awe. You're in awe. So my great example was I was in New York. I think I had just gotten an agent for my book. And I took one of my daughters lives in New York, and we went to Hamilton. This was years ago, right? And I had no idea what it was. Everyone just said you had to go to Hamilton. So, okay, I go to Hamilton. We get tickets. We go to a matinee. And I'm watching, and I'm looking at Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I'm always looking for who am I affected by. And I was just in awe. The fact that, you know, he wrote it, and he created it, and he was starring in it, and his presence on stage. I was like, and so all of a sudden, I start doing shadow work in the middle of Hamilton. Like, what is it about this man that literally has me standing here and with my mouth open, because I know this is my evolutionary leap. Like, if I can find the trait in him, because now I've just gotten book deal. So I know it's the universe. It's like you with your books every week. I know it's the universe serving up for me an experience of some trait I need to own so I can take my next evolutionary leap. So I'm sitting there in Hamilton, and what is he? Is he creative? Is he smart? And I'm like, no, not enough. No, not enough. Work through that one. Own that one. Own that. All of a sudden, I got that he was a genius downloader. He was like a downloading genius to me. that he just like channeled, was this
Ooh.
amazing channel. And I had been asking because I wanted to write my book from being a channel, just really being a channel for the divine. I wanted to come through me. I didn't want to have to effort it.
Yes.
And I just wanted to just like, psh. And what I saw in him, then I could say, okay, that's the trait, this downloading genius that I need to own so that I can take that next evolution of self. And so that's how you spot the shadows that you need to own. They're
The light
inside of you.
shadows.
And yeah, so for negative, it's you're triggered, and for positive, you're in awe.
Oh my God, I never even thought about that. I
Yes.
mean, I know you write about it and stuff, but
So it's informed or affected. If I just
Yeah.
saw someone, I go, oh yeah, he's creative. Like, I know I'm creative.
yeah.
You know, not a shadow. But when I got to that downloading genius, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's what it is about this man.
Well, and then that's what you need to create your version of
That.
Hamilton.
Exactly. I needed to own that light in me. So yes, I could create
Wow.
my Hamilton.
Yeah.
What's our Hamilton?
Which you did. Your book is so marked up in here, highlighted, notes. I mean, I'm never going to get to all of them, even if I try.
It
But-
seems like the first step is identifying your shadow self, those characteristics. How do we do that if we don't have you? I mean, we have the book, which is great.
Because
Yep.
you walk around in life and you go, am I informed or affected? So let's say I'm sitting in a restaurant and someone's doing a behavior that I'm going, oh, that's disgusting. Like someone having Italian food the other night and someone was just shoveling the spaghetti in. They weren't, they were just brought there. And so I would sit there and I would go, okay, what's that trait? Now, maybe you would look at that trait. What would you look at if you saw someone and you were affected by their behavior?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say shoveling in spaghetti, bringing their thing.
Or
Would
when
that
they chew with their mouth open.
okay, so what kind of person chews with their mouth open?
Someone sloppy.
Sloppy. So you need to integrate sloppy. How are you with being sloppy?
Oh, I hate it.
Exactly.
Well, maybe I don't hate it. Maybe I just was told it's
You can't
a terrible
be.
thing.
Yes, you
I
were
am good at being sloppy, I guess. I
Well,
just
that's-
fight it.
Exactly.
Shit. Oh
So-
my God.
So sloppy is one of your shadows. Now, I might look at that person and say they're disrespectful because that's what I need to own. So we're all looking at the same thing. And what are we looking at? Ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say with someone like who's someone you admire, who's someone that people would know, like
Beyonce.
Beyonce. What do you see in Beyonce? What's
I
the
mean,
characteristic?
The closest thing to perfection I've ever seen in my life.
So perfection. So to
She's
her,
just amazing at everything.
We keep going with this perfection.
I see freedom, that she can just go out there and
Yes.
do her own thing. I need freedom. You need perfection. What do you see when you see Beyonce?
Happy.
Happy.
Yeah.
And we're all looking at Beyonce. But who are we seeing?
Yeah.
Ourselves. So I would start going, okay, what can I do to be more free today? You know, what would he would be? What can I do to be happy today? What can I do to be perfect today?
Well, we don't want to be perfect.
Well,
But for
whatever
me,
that
what
perfect
what it means is she's able to do everything on such a
But
high level.
You said informed or infected, so I said I want to understand this. So could the seeing her as perfection be an infection to Maria? You know,
Are you? Well, she's not triggered by it. So if you,
I'm
there's
in awe of
Okay.
her.
there's something and I would drill down more to the perfection. Like, what is it about her that you see as perfect? There's something about her that you see as perfect.
Well, I just saw her documentary and I was so inspired.
Yeah, I
by
loved
it.
her documentary.
Yeah. Even though it was just her concert, it was just so
Do you
cool
think-
to see how hard she worked.
Well, do you think she can juggle a lot, Maria?
No, not
No?
that she can juggle a lot.
Precise.
She is precise and she's very focused on one thing. So she nails that one thing.
There
Okay.
you go.
So focus.
There it is, because you have a lot going on,
Yeah, I like
So-
focusing on one
and
thing.
you've never really been able
And-
to focus on one thing.
Exactly. So you love the fact that she's focused.
Yes, because think about all
Right.
the happiest
different.
moments I've ever had were when I got to focus on one thing.
Well,
I'm
even
always
your
so spread
sickness.
out.
I mean, like it's when I lead a workshop, one of the great things about leading a workshop is the singularity. All I need to do is be in that workshop for the weekend.
Yes.
And I close everything,
It's
my
amazing,
family
right?
knows this. And so there's so few times where we allow ourselves to be in the singularity of one thing. Just focus on one thing.
Yeah.
And probably, I would assume, and I don't mean to hijack your
No, go
illness,
for it.
but probably when you need to heal, that was
Amazing.
you got the singularity
Yeah.
of just focusing on your healing. I'm not sure how that worked because of your mother, but
Yeah. Well, I focused on it for a while. I was able to, she was good. Kevin kind of had her
right.
as well. And,
And
she was doing better at that point. So,
And so that's especially as you're starting to, I guess what I'm gathering, like what's my next thing, or what am I going to do to be important this week?
yeah.
To just be able to focus on what's important to you
yeah.
and to give yourself the gift of singularity. Because also the other thing I see all the time in my business, you mentioned the word overwhelm, but people who have a lot going on, they have commitment issues. And no one would ever look at you or me or you and say, oh my God. I remember when I realized because I was doing everything for everybody and this work and this part of my career and that part of the career. And I went, oh my God, I have commitment issues. All that multitasking. Because underneath it, if we picked any one thing, maybe we'd pick the wrong thing.
What if we fail?
What
You need
if
the
we
backup
failed?
plans.
Then we can, we're like hedging our bet. And
Yes.
so, it was mind-boggling to me to see that under all my multitasking was fear of commitment and fear of failure.
Oh my God. Kelley, yes.
Yes.
I grew up and I remember saying, okay, I'm going to study journalism, but I'm also going to act. I'm also going to do all these other things.
Yeah.
And then if I'm really bad at one, or if I fail at one, then I'll
Right.
have the other. And so I worked so hard on creating this, kind of
Triple, quadruple threat.
Yeah, it was almost like a spider web of like a
Yes.
million different things so that I would be safe.
Yes. Yes. And for most of us, being safe runs our life.
Oh my God. Yeah. And now I'm deprogramming all of that.
Yeah.
And now I'm just doing what makes me happy. So I started dance class. I play guitar. I'm going to start playing piano. Like I'm doing all the fun, creative things that are making me happy.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to be doing. But you're checking in with here. Am I doing it because, I should be doing it, or someone expects me to do it, or doing it because it's something I want to do?
Just me.
That it just lights me up.
Yep. Totally
Yeah.
just lights me up, like on a whole other level. Steven, you got a question?
I do. I want to know, how do you bounce back though? Because I have it a lot in my life where I'll focus on a goal that I think is what I want, and I'll focus so hard on it, and then I realize that when I attain it, I still don't have that happiness that I expected. So how do I bounce back from catering to a shadow self for so long and not knowing how to identify the things that are what I want?
Well, I would go back to your experience and saying, there's so many of us, we reach the goal. And then for like 2 days, we write the book, we publish the book, we achieve whatever that goal is. We get the raise, we find the guy, we get married. And then 2 days later, we're like, now what? Yeah. And so it's not the goal, it's the characteristics. It goes back to
The feeling, right?
the feeling, and it goes back to the characteristics. How did you think you're going to feel? Or who would you get to be? What would you make it mean about you if you achieve that goal?
Mm-hmm.
So I would be successful. I would be happy. It's not the thing. That's why so many of us, we get the car and then it's like, okay, what's the next car? We get the degree. And what's the next degree? What's the next course I'm taking? What's the next certification I'm going to take? And so I would say to you, Stephen, it's what's the characteristic? Because the characteristic is the shadow, and it's already inside of you. You just disowned it at a time, and now you are ready to own it back. So whatever your goal is, what kind of person would achieve that goal?
A successful person.
So you need to own successful. Because otherwise you're going to keep going to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing so you can feel successful. There's nothing in your outer
Right.
world
He
that's
doesn't.
going to
No.
and
He
it
has
doesn't
300
matter.
people who work for him solely. and he doesn't see
Exactly. And it
himself as
doesn't matter what
successful.
your resume says.
Right.
Because you're not owning it inside of you that
Mhm.
you are successful.
How do you own it then?
Well, you have to start by knowing that that is you. It's in you. It's just something you disown. So he has to look at his relationship with successful. What did you learn about successful as a kid? What was,
That's the thing, is like I have this preconceived image of it,
right.
and it's based on imagery of like whether it's materials, whether it's monetary materials, or whether it's an image of a lifestyle, which
Okay.
is unrealistic.
And what were you told about that lifestyle? Did you have that lifestyle growing up?
I didn't.
Were there the haves and the have-nots, and you were the have-not?
I think I focused on what I didn't have as
Exactly.
opposed to what I did have.
So his thing is
Well, also
he
he
still
said it's unrealistic. Isn't
it's
that interesting?
unrealistic. So
It's
he
totally
doesn't believe
realistic.
it's unsuccessful. So wherever you brought up that success is not for me, success is not mine.
Right.
You know, I'll never be that.
Got it.
You have to look at, or maybe as a kid you were, you know, punished because you didn't get a great grade, you were unsuccessful, or your father had money and lost it and was unsuccessful. You need to look at your relationship with unsuccessful as well as successful.
Well, I know that like my grandfather was the person I looked up to most, and he was very much like me, where he would take opportunities and big opportunities. And throughout my childhood, we've had 3 huge opportunities that after 6 years fell through the cracks and didn't
Right.
happen.
So you had, you know, your whole thing is about being unsuccessful, or nothing lasts forever.
Yeah. Or you might devote yourself to something and then it's not going to materialize.
So it's all in that dark that you never can be successful enough. Because look at what your grandfather did. He'd make it, he'd lose it. He'd make it, he'd lose it. So you internalize that, and it's never enough, or you'll never make it, or you're not good enough, or nothing lasts forever, or success is fleeting. Even a belief like success is fleeting.
So how can I begin to change?
You want to start looking at, I am successful.
Affirmations.
I am successful.
And he is.
Well, you
Like, if I
start at
give
where
you
you're
a-
at, right?
yeah.
So wherever you're at, even if you don't have what the outward visions of success are, you don't have a fancy car or whatever, it's like, okay, I have a brand new car and I'm able to make my car payments, and I do have a staff that works underneath me, and I
Right.
have, you know, good relationships. You start with what you have, right?
And you start by owning the feeling and the characteristic, because if you can own it on the inside, then it'll manifest on the outside. It starts from the inside out. You've been working from the outside in, thinking that the car, you know, the house, the other stuff is the, you know, the arrival zone. That's fleeting, and it's never enough. You're chasing. You have to start owning that I am successful. How have you been successful? Looking at every day, how was I successful today? You have to start owning I am successful, and when you own it inside, then you'll have a whole new relation with it on the outside.
Because it's what you talked about in the book. He's probably stuck in his story.
Yeah, you're stuck in
That's
your
his story.
story. You're stuck in your family story. If you had kids, they would be in this whole same thing, that success is fleeting, or there's no such thing as success.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's a shadow belief that you want to, when you have a shadow belief, you want to uncover the belief. You want to see where it came from, how it was formed. You want to see how it served you, because we're only going to integrate things if we can find the gifts in them. So how has success is fleeting actually served you, Stephen?
I mean, it probably hasn't at all.
No. Has it had you create a lot? I'm hearing here you have 300 people working underneath you. It
Tons.
sounds like
It's-
you've
Well,
done a lot in the world.
Yeah.
I misunderstood the question. Thinking that success is fleeting has just stressed me out, but pushing myself because of it has pushed me towards
Right.
greater heights.
Right. There's a cost to it. So there's definitely a cost. So the cost has been, it's stressed you out. I'm sure it's exhausting. But now, see, this is the thing. If we have unconscious beliefs running our life, if we can do shadow work and bring the unconscious to the conscious, And then we can change a disempowering belief with an empowering belief and code our consciousness now with empowering beliefs that serve our highest, then we're like rewiring our programming. So what's a new empowering belief that you can code your consciousness with, every cell in your body, that will replace the old belief success is fleeting?
Would it be something like I'm already successful, or would it be something like, I don't know, I'm kind of...
Well, you want to play with it, like, success can last forever. So for me with love, let's take it, because, in the book I write about relationships. And I had a shadow belief, or we'll do something else. When I was a young kid, I'll tell you how it works. When I was a young kid, I remember being in Puerto Rico with my father, and I went, and we weren't allowed to ever have sweets because I had a mother. Her version of success was outer beauty. And so we were never allowed to have sweets. And my father let us get an ice cream cone. And I ordered an ice cream cone, and my father said, if you eat that, you'll be roly and poly. So there's this 8-year little girl all about to eat her ice cream cone, and all of a sudden she just, the joy diminishes, because all of a sudden, oh God, the fat thing comes up, right? And so I remembered, through doing this work, I made that situation mean I cannot have what I want. I will never have what I want. And life will disappoint me. Those were my 2 shadow beliefs, right? And if I look at my life, even though my resume looks great, I realized I always went for what I thought I could get, not necessarily what I want. So even when I applied to schools, I went to Brown, I wanted to go to Harvard, but I got, or I would go for that guy because I knew he liked me instead of maybe the guy I had a crush on. I could see how I was strategizing my life because of this belief: you will never have what you want.
So you played it safe.
I played it safe, and I knew I would run for a position, in school government. I would always know which ones I could run. And so I was a smart rat, because we're all very smart rats. And so, but I never felt full inside. Like, look at this life, look at this resume. I should be jumping for joy, but I was playing it safe my whole life. And so it was as a result of this work, going back, understanding that I had created this belief, that I could then replace it with a new belief that I can have what I want, and that the world is always giving me what is in my highest. And I stopped, once I started really getting that, I stopped this thing of, trying to just go for what was safe. So if you can identify the belief, where it came from, you can see how it served you. Yes, I attained a lot of things. You can see the cost. And then you can replace that old disempowering belief with a new empowering belief. So maybe yours would be, success is, sustainable. Success is mine. I have the ability to live, to keep evolving into a greater and greater life. My right.
Everything is happening as it should.
Yeah, I am deserving of having an amazing, fabulous, kick-ass life with abundant success. I mean, do something that really is going to yes.
I really like the I am deserving. I think that's what I really have to nail home.
Well, and deserving is a big thing for a lot of us. We just don't feel deserving enough to have it. And so some of us work over it. You couldn't own your beauty or your brains because, you didn't feel deserving of just going out there and being all you could be.
Yeah.
And who are you not to be all you can be? The world needs you to be all you can be. And look what you're doing with it, all of you. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I have 2 more I want to get to, even though I normally would wrap it right now. But we didn't talk about integrity snatchers.
Oh.
And I think that's so important. And I also really loved shoulding. So
Yeah.
if we can get to those, that would be
Well,
amazing.
the integrity snatchers are the things that whittle away our integrity. So number 1, fear. Number 1 is shame. actually, in the book. Number one is shame. So something happens when we're young, and we make it mean, I'm not good enough. And then as a result of our shame, which makes us out of integrity, because like you didn't believe you were important, or you didn't want to be unimportant. So then you get out of integrity just doing and trying to be this beacon of perfection. And it's just exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
So shame is, kind of it's the most painful trait. And we're all just walking around so covered with shame. We believe we are our shame. It's not just I feel shame about that. It's I am shame. So shame, and as a result of our shame, I am that, creates our shadow. I don't want to be that. So we then disown it.
Build the wall.
Yeah, we build the wall, we build the persona, which then creates fear, the third integrity stature, which God forbid they should find out I'm that. And so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you don't find out I'm that, and, create, all this stuff. So, and then I'm living in fear all the time. And then the stories that we tell ourselves, you mentioned story.
Mm-hmm.
All our fear creates this story of, I am, I'm too this, I'm too that, I will never be successful, or, I'm not that person, or I am that person. So we have this story of who we are, and it's not our stories are bad or good, but they're limiting. And the problem, if you live inside your story, look at all the people who are out there being victims, being the victim of their story.
Yep.
It'll always end the same way.
Yep.
The problem with a story is it always ends the same way. And
I've been
generally
there.
in a story, you cast yourself as the role of a victim.
I got screwed.
And that's it. Exactly. So you're going to always get screwed. You're going to get screwed in work. You're going to get screwed in jobs.
And that
you're going to get
becomes
screwed.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly, because it's a shadow belief. Our story is just filled up with all the meanings, and they're generally the limiting meanings that we create around the facts of our lives. If you have someone write out their story, which I do with clients, there's maybe like 3 facts, and the rest is just all these negative meanings that they've wrapped around. Like, take someone who gets divorced. The fact is, on such and such a day, I got a divorce. The meaning, what I make it mean, I'll die alone, I'll die broke, I'm screwing up my children, like life is going to be so much harder. Really? My life was terrific, but that was the story I told myself for 1 minute, and then that story, I'm the victim. So it's everything we wrap around the facts. Another one of the integrity statures was wanting. For me, this was such a huge one when I realized that wanting is because we want it so badly. Like, I wanted the relationship so badly that I kept stepping over all the red flags. And so wanting can totally, take us out of our truth and have us bottom fish, very honestly. Another one, which I love, is people who empower your helplessness. There are so many people out there, oh, no one's going to love you like I love you, or no, I'll help you become a bestseller, or whatever it is your goal. They tap into your sense of lack, and they hook into your not good enough. And then they make you think that they're the Messiah for you.
Yeah.
And, for me, I had financial fear when I got divorced. And I kept, looking to other people. Here, you invest my money. Here, you take it, because I was dumb. That's where I'm not so smart. And one of the ways.
You need to listen to our AJ Gupta episode.
Oh, okay, good. I would love to. And so, people are ready to take it. The best people would, if it's like a hot potato, you take it. Someone's definitely always willing to run with it.
Yep.
And so then they empower, you need me too. That's how they hook you. And all of those integrity snatchers, diminishes us we're not living in our fullness, and we're not living in our truth.
Yeah.
And it's how we whittle ourselves away and just get further from the person we want to be.
So funny.
I find with the millennial generation, a lot of the parents empower the helplessness
Yes.
of their children.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't it funny? Isn't this all the same stuff I've been saying to the last few weeks? Like, I need to find my own voice. I need to completely, just go on a journey of just who am I, and find out what I'm capable of, on my own, for better or for worse.
Yes.
Because I've always had you to help me with everything. It's interesting.
And your voice is there. Your voice is there. It's just you have to feel enough to speak your truth.
Yeah.
And for women, it is also, I don't know how old you are, but it's a coming of age.
41.
I think. Okay, well,
As of 2 weeks ago.
You're in the happy birthday,
Thank
but
you.
you're in the great spot, because I think more and more we just, own that this is who I am, and I'm just going to put it out there, because
Yeah.
otherwise I'm not going to be happy. And I have been shooting on myself for so long. So
Yes.
the shooting is, look, we tell ourselves everything we should be doing. I should be getting married at this point, or I should have that job, or I should look this way.
Yeah.
And we're just constantly shooting on ourselves, and we're not being inner referred, we're being outer referred, what our lives should look like. I love the fact that even women today are looking, do I want to have kids? In my book, it was just, you do this, you do that, you do, your to-do list of life, and you just check it off. Go to college, you work, and then you get married, and then you have the kids, and then you have the family, and then you do this, and then you do that. And we're just living by all these kind of made up rules.
Yep.
That we either made up ourselves or projecting that society is made up for us. And living by those shoulds, you just cut off what's in integrity with your soul. And so we have to really look, because our shoulds will just bring us to a repeat of the past. We'll keep doing what we've been doing, all being that good little girl or boy. And we're not living by our soul's desires anymore. We don't even know to look in. I didn't even know to look. I went to college, and then what I was going to do? Go to law school. I didn't even ask myself, what do I want to do? It was just, that next thing on your resume, that next thing on your resume, and then I projected it on my parents. Oh, that's what you do. You go to law school, you become this, you become that. And it was like 3 or 4 things, because I was a woman at that time, that I could go do. And when I asked my mother, she was like, where did you get that? I didn't care if you became a lawyer.
Yeah.
It was all the stuff I thought I should be doing.
Yeah, because that's how the world makes it seem. Like
Or-
the world tells you what you should be.
Or that's what I made it,
That's her perception, Maria.
my
Remember, I
perception.
told
I'm
you-
this smart girl, and that's what I should do. I should go to law school.
Yeah.
That's what you do after college. I should be the smart one who goes to law school.
And I think the false interpretations of what our parents have told us, like I told you I had an experience with my dad on his deathbed. You just explained with your mom,
Yeah.
So we think that that's what they wanted, and your mother's like, no, I didn't care if you were going to be a lawyer.
Exactly,
right?
because we're projecting our judgment, my judgment of I have to prove. I project it on everybody else.
Yeah. It's funny. One of the things I say on like different speech circuits I go on, one of the lines that just popped into my head was, just because I can doesn't mean I should.
Exactly.
And that was my new guiding force after surgery.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I could go host all these shows, or I could go do all these things, or yes, I
Yes.
could write a book, when everybody was saying, write a book, write a book. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, but just because I can doesn't mean I should. I'm not ready yet.
That it's not right for you at that moment.
Yeah.
Exactly. And integrity is turning back to what is right for me.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I think is the toughest part, is when you get to a place where you see what it is, but like for me, like now, I'll use as an example, I see everybody who's chasing after it and doing a million things. It never felt authentic to me.
Mm-hmm.
I did it, but now I'm allergic to it.
Right.
And it's so easy to get caught up and look on Instagram and see people doing the things that you were doing and having this outward
Right.
success and having, that kind of importantness or whatever. And you're like, I don't want that, but should I? And just that confusion.
Exactly, because
Should?
you're rewiring your system. You've
Yeah.
had 40 years of doing that, being the leader of the pack of that, being out there doing that, and all of a sudden it's, and everyone expects you to. Oh, you're
Yes.
Maria. Okay, now let's give her
Yes.
this, and let's get her back on the red carpet, and let's do this, and
Yeah.
everything. And people expect it. And so all of a sudden when you say, no, I don't want it, like, what do you mean? Here's your dress.
Yeah.
Go. Your stylist is right there.
Yeah.
Go.
I've had 2 conversations with my agent in how many years now? 2 years since my surgery. Yeah. And my other agent who will bring me things, I'm like, I don't really want to do that. Sorry.
But that's the whole integrity alignment monitor.
Yeah.
It's really, because even you could do the, and you're like, why did I do that? Like, I
Yeah.
think about writing another book. Do I want to write another book now? I mean, I feel like I have a book in me, but I just got married, and my 40s were all about my kids, my 50s were all about my career. I have a feeling maybe my 60s is about relationship, but I don't know. But right now, and so it's not right for me right now.
Yeah.
Who knows what will be? But I don't want to have to worry about a deadline. If my husband wants to, let's go on safari, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Oh, I can't. I have to go. I did that my whole 50s.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know what's right for you now.
Exactly. And it's hard because because we're all works in progress. And that's the good news. Because when I have something like that, so like, who am I going to be today kind of thing? It's okay. There's another layer. People think that, oh my God, I've done so much. I'm done. Like, I've done all the shadow work. No, but there's another layer of healing, of owning that I need to get to. And that's why it's coming up. And I love it because I know kind of with each breakdown is the next breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
It's me, the soul is here to evolve. And it's the next evolution of my soul. So maybe giving up that identity of who Kelley was in her 50s to who she can become in her 60s when she gets there.
Yeah. That's amazing. So if people want to dig into this deeper, do they go to the Ford Institute? I mean, where do we go?
They can,
where do we get you, Kelley?
Now I'm working
like
a lot of, because I'm in this reinvention stage. Come to KelleyKosow.com, and I work a lot. Right now I've gone back to working with a lot of people one-on-one. And I'm kind of looking at what my schedule in terms of traveling and being on the road and, and always that's going to be because of my change in circumstances and really wanting to do relationship right.
Mm-hmm.
And be, what's the point of having a relationship if that's easy for me to travel, but I want to be in relationship.
Yeah.
And so the best thing is to, as I'm going through this, but it's just work on one-on-one. So KelleyKosow.com.
Got it.
Yeah.
But there are workshops for this as well. People can attend, right?
Well, we're going to be doing a shadow process workshop, which is, it's revolutionary. It really is.
So keep going to the site, pick up the book.
Yeah, it'll all be on my site.
We're going to come.
Definitely.
You want to go too, of course,
You would
I'm
love
sure.
Yeah.
I know I would love it.
You would love it, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. And
thank you.
Oh, wait, Steph, do you have a question, Steph?
Well, we always finish on the same note.
Oh, I always forget the last question. Yes. So Kelley, of course, we're better together.
Right.
We always ask everybody, how are you trying to be better or get better now? Is there a practice you're implementing into your life? Is there something you're working on right now?
Yeah, I think I work, I was having an interview the other day, and if you go on my site, it talks about fierce confidence, and someone says, how do you get that? And for me, it's really, I work on the paradigm that the universe, everything that is happening for me, not to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I am always walking around, and I use them in the book, powerful in my integrity protection program. I'm always asking, what am I supposed to be learning from this situation? So whether it's a roof leak, whether it's a person I meet, I'm always asking, I really get that the universe is my best friend and my most benevolent teacher. And that gives me the faith to do anything because I have that wind beneath my wings.
Mm-hmm.
I also get that life really is about what consciousness you bring to every moment. That's the difference in life. I can be in a situation, be a victim consciousness, or I can come from a consciousness of abundance. And so I'm always looking at knowing that the greatest honor or right we have as humans is choice. I'm always asking myself, who do I want to be in this moment? And what level of consciousness do I want to bring to this moment? And, then the third thing is really get that we're all vibrational beings and everything that we do impacts our vibration. And it's either up or down. There's no just coasting. So I have my structures for success. And whether it's people I'm around or spaces I like to go in, I really get that everything impacts my vibration, and it's in my power as the co-creator of my life to protect that vibration and honor it like I would a baby. And so find your structures for success. Get that the universe is with you. Ask yourself, who do I want to be in this moment? What level of consciousness do I want to bring? And what am I supposed to be learning? and know yourself. Don't test yourself. What are the structures for success that, have your vibration go up, and take it from the inside, not all those shoulds on the outside.
I love it. Love, love, love. Wow. All right. What have we learned, people? Who wants to start? Steph,
I
go.
can start on the positive note. Well, I've always identified shame as an area of my family because we come from a good line of people who want to do good in the world, but with that comes embarrassment. If you embarrass the family, you're like disowned. So I've always been scared of doing that. Yeah.
Right. No.
So kind of redefining what I find, what I identify as shameful, and what I don't want to shame myself for when I just am being an honest human.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I loved was the whole light aspect and the people that we see that inspire us. So for me, it's like you, Kev, my mom, Lin-Manuel, I shared that in common with her, like Oprah, all these people where I'm like, why when I'm around them, I feel like fired up. And that was a really great way to be like, oh, I'm learning from them. I'm gaining from them.
Yeah.
I really liked her take on how we tell ourselves such negative things all the time, and the world's telling us such negative things all the time, that when good things come across our lap, like compliments or things like that, we're so caught off guard that we don't even know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be telling ourselves those good things more, so we're more accustomed to it, because self-love is way better than, everything the world's throwing at in mental violence. And obviously I learned a lot because I had like my own little session with her on the show.
I know, you had such a great session with her. That was so cool.
It's really cool to like examine the subconscious from like a perception of what affects it and where did that come from and how do I change it, as opposed to cop to it and just stay in the same mental faculties for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. And I love how she just came right for me.
Yeah.
I was like, go for it. After the show, she was like, I didn't know. And I was like, no, always. I pour my heart out on this show.
And she doesn't know this. Me and Maria exchange like what we want to talk about and like focusing on. And she goes, I want her to test me.
Isn't that so funny? There's like the part in the book where she,
Yeah.
And
so I was like, you don't even know Maria wanted this.
Yeah. Well, because I wanted to know what are mine. And, it's easier for somebody to kind of just point them out for you than to, on the show.
Totally.
Sit there and explore it. But yeah, I learned a lot. I learned so much in this episode. Honey?
I learned that I have a lot to learn. So I really think that finding out who our shadow selves are, that's going to take a lot of work. And I think that's phase one. So for me, I want to get to work on that. I think a couple of tips, am I informed or infected?
Ooh, yeah, that was good.
By a certain thing. I think that will help us all get there. And then the integrity alignment monitor, just kind of having that now built into your brain.
Yeah.
And remember like what it was. I know it was a Carl Jung that she said, who said, and I've heard this before. It's not about being good; it's about being whole.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
So it's really very.
I know. Well, when you're conditioned from a young age, like be a good boy, be a good girl. I say it to the dogs, the poor things.
I know. Oh, I'm going to have to help them more.
We're going to need Kelley for the babies.
Yeah.
When I ran to the bathroom before we did our social media stuff, I ran to the bathroom. All of them flood me in the toilet, and Max is there, and I'm like, I love you guys regardless of your bad traits. And Max, Mommy loves you even if you are weak in a moment, and William, even if you're a bad boy. And I started doing it. Meanwhile, in my heart, I was like, don't ever be weak, Max.
Listen, I will share with you a personal lesson. I knew this. I got off a plane last night, and we really did. Your dad and I worked, from dusk till dawn till way past dusk in back to make prep for this wedding. And I was exhausted. But you said, you invited me to be on the show, and I'm starting to lean in more on wherever I'm called, I go. Mm-hmm. So I knew when I was called to go home and do a lot of the things I did and affect a lot of lives that I did affect. And I knew when you asked me on the show, and I told that to Kelley walking out, I knew I needed to be on this show for me. And
I knew you needed to be on this show. That's why I invited you.
Yeah, no, and I know, and your instinct was correct, but sometimes we go, oh my God, I got to do this and I have to do that. Yeah. I just got home. I have bills to pay.
Yep.
Are you crazy? I got to get back to AfterBuzz.
I know.
And I was like, nope. You know what? I probably need to be there.
Yeah.
So just trusting in that, and I'm really grateful. So thank you.
You're welcome, Boo. And don't worry, I paid the bills, yo, because I handled everything while you were
Oh
gone.
my God.
Anyhow, thank you guys again for joining us. I love you guys, and I love all the great feedback you guys are sending our way. I know, Stephen, you got some new comments.
Yes,
Oh.
we have some new comments.
Do you have music for this now?
We have to have
Dancing.
music.
Oh my God.
Kevin's got to dance. I'll put it on Kevin for the camera while we do this.
Oh my God.
Thank
He's
you
just shaking
all
his booty.
so much for leaving iTunes, Apple Podcast reviews. We have 4 new ones for this week. We have Yasmin Tanrez says, Better Together is in my top 3 podcast subscriptions, along with Oprah and the School of Greatness. I love to listen to episodes in which I can take away and practice a lesson, heighten my awareness and knowledge in different areas of life. Maria Menounos asks great questions that keeps the audience engaged and has the best voice to listen to. I also thoroughly enjoy Steph Sabra and Stephen Lemieux's input. I'm always excited to listen to the upcoming episode. No matter what the subject matter, I always learn something new.
Wow, thank you. They like us. She likes us.
And then we have
The whole of us.
Roxy
Even
Stryer.
You, Steven.
Even me sometimes.
Rejoice.
Roxy Stryer says it's a must listen, without a doubt a must listen. Sometimes I don't feel like learning about something and you convince me why I should. Love the
Ooh.
show and love you, Maria. Also, Steph and Stephen Rock.
Nice.
And then Haley M., who was our old intern, she just graduated, was our intern at AfterBuzz, says, love it. My friends and I love going to the gym and listening to an episode while we work out. Then after the workout, we discuss what we took from the episode and how we can apply what we learned to our lives. Excited for future episodes. We love getting better together. And lastly, Megan Cortez
Wow,
says,
that's amazing. I love that they're having discussions together after they listen to it.
Yeah.
Well,
It's awesome.
That's
Do I hear
incredible.
Better Together after show? What?
right?
Honey, did you hear that? They actually go to the gym, they listen to the show, and then they have a discussion after. That's so cool.
Yeah, the bad guy, shadow guy in your life was
Honey.
the one who's been saying this for years, that you have so much to share for women and you need to. But whatever, I'm not going to do it
Oh my
If
anymore.
you
God,
guys aren't
he's
watching on
doing the
YouTube right
craziest
now,
dance right now.
we have unedited cuts on YouTube, all sorts of cool stuff. Anything behind the scenes, you can check it out on YouTube. And Kevin's dancing right now, and he
Yes,
has consistently been
I haven't
dancing.
seen Kevin this happy in so long. First of all, he was gone for 3 weeks. He was so happy being away for the 3 weeks. Every day I never said anything to him, but he was positive and happy. When he left, not so much. And then being away from me, you were great. I was
oh my
also
God, I wasn't
great.
being away from you.
Not lying. I was great too.
No, I had to do me.
We
And
both
I had to
did
go back to
us.
my college. That's my my womb.
Can you go on the higher step so it's not creaking and cracking?
No, the sound effects are
Thank
great.
you, Boo. Okay, Steven, go to the next one.
We have another one, which is 5 stars, My Favorite Podcast by Megan Cortez. I enjoy all these conversations, helpful learning, and reminders. I'm reading a book called The Courage to Rise Using Movement, Mindfulness, and Healing Foods to Triumph Over Trauma book by Liz Arch. I would love to hear her on the show.
Oh,
So we're even
cool.
getting
Looking it
suggestions.
up.
Look that up, Steph.
And Maria, I have to let you know that we're going to start, documenting some of these amazing moments on the show for sound bites. And last week we had a few of them that audio listeners didn't get a chance to listen to.
Oh
but
boy.
this
oh
one-
no. Steph's laughing. This means you guys are about to bust on me for something.
that was Steph's mic last week, and your reaction,
I was like, did you guys catch me farting? I didn't fart.
and of course the reaction.
What the fuck was that?
So stay tuned for
'Cause I
more
thought
great
Stephanie
sound bites.
farted. Shitballs. Shitballs. Oh my God.
We're ready to do it up good.
Shitballs. Well, now that I have to stand in my integrity, I can't say that now I won't let you catch me doing anything bad and hiding my shadow self.
Oh my
This
God.
is funny because the truth is, I always say to Kevin, if people knew the real me, I wonder if they would still like me because I am a gross boy stuck in a woman's
Honey,
body.
Honey,
What?
no, your commentary on 90 Day Fiance, which I will not share. Speaking of knowing the real you, oh my God. The way Howard Stern's commentary is like we've sat with Howard and watched movies, and to get him doing it live, Maria's just as funny. Oh my
We need
God.
her on the after
It's
shows.
so inappropriate.
Watch along.
Yeah, it's so inappropriate. And literally, Kevin, who doesn't laugh at anything,
She's so funny.
he has to pause it and he just dies laughing. It's so it only encourages me to be like more devious and more sinister and more like whatever. But anyhow, thank you guys again for joining us. Thank you for the comments. Please keep them flowing. It really ignites us and lets us know that we're on the right track. And if you love the episode that you're listening to, please share it on social media, via email with your friends. Let other people in on the conversation and help them find, the things that they need to find as well, just like I brought you in on this, Boo. New episodes drop every Monday. If you want to learn more about Kelley and her work and her upcoming events, you can go to kelleykosow.com. It's Kelley with an EY, so Kelley KOSOW.com. It'll be in the summary as well for the show. You can purchase her book, The Integrity Advantage, wherever books are sold. In the meantime, follow us at Maria Menounos, at Undergaro, at Steph Sabra, at Kelley Kosow, at Stephen Lemieux Photo. And remember, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.